Yeah. What do you tell founders or newly formed businesses, early stage businesses that want to start building a diverse team as they're getting going? What advice would you give them to start with a really strong foundation?
The first thing I would do is ask them what their budget is and how much energy. I would get a sense of how they're really where they're really trying to take it, because there are different founders at different places. Some founders want to do it, and there's nothing wrong with this, but some founders want to do it because they want their people to get off their back. That's a real thing, and I love my founders that are honest about it. That don't make them racist or non-racist. We got some other conversations we can have about that, but that's how they're like, look, I just everybody keeps saying we don't have a diversity program. I want them to shut up about this and let's get a diversity program. With that in mind, I would encourage them to create a program that is not super rigorous and that doesn't overcommit, because they're going to be irritated about this later, because people are going to, if you don't have anything, people are going to take whatever you give them. And so start off with something that's like, we're going to do an event a quarter or twice a year or once a year or whatever, or this is the holiday we're going to celebrate Juneteenth, and just do it with joy on that day. Boom. Now, if you're a leader that you're like, you woke up in the middle of the night, or your wife just had her third baby, and you have this revelation that you need your kids to change the world and think differently and be like Tom's the sneakers. So we're gonna talk about something different. You need to be ready to roll up your sleeves. I would then say, okay, why don't you immerse yourself into some spaces where you have more empathy and understanding about it, because that type of leader, I wouldn't encourage them to expect everybody else to be the only people knowledgeable. I would say to them, all right, here's a couple of books for you to read. Here's how, open your eyes up, because like I listened to I don't know if this was a famous person. I know Pharrell said it on one of these songs, like his Rihanna and them song, but the truth will set you free. But first it's gonna piss you off. Like, we gonna get free, but this might hurt a little bit. So just depending on where the leader is, I would advise them to approach it differently. But if they see value, which they should, because at the end of the day, if your team doesn't feel included, if they feel left out, like I got fired from my last job. And my old employer would love for me to come back to work. Cause she's like, oh my God, I didn't know you had all that in you. But I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel welcome. I felt like I was a threat. I came up in there and people, the implicit biases. And I was younger then, let's say 10 years ago. So I wasn't necessarily able to articulate and advocate on my behalf. And then when you the first generation college, or you got whatever baggage you got on you, you're not really necessarily trying to go up in the office and piss everybody off anyway and just be weird and uncomfortable. And there goes the black girl, or there goes the brown girl. Like, you don't want that vibe, right? So a lot of times we don't realize that we're missing out on top tier talent just because they don't feel safe. Like some leaders, I'll say to them, and I mean, they just had these like, so if I would have just did like 3 events, because some leaders really don't care. Then they just don't want to feel weird, like we were talking about earlier, right?
Hmm.
It's not that they got issues; that it's just they haven't been in a space where everybody didn't feel cringe, and that's where I think my little niche makes it special, because I deliver the let's do it without the cringe. A lot of people out there do it, but let's talk about it where it's not the same type of cleanup later. So some leaders, they just didn't want the weirdness with it, but they like, dang, I didn't realize how much these people are alive and how much productivity and effectiveness that, people feel safe. Like, I don't feel like you looking at me left, or I don't feel like that you think my culture, my background is weird. I feel like you realize, bring all the weirdness, because, we make more money when you feel creative and weird.
But what do you tell if founders wanted to, if they asked you the question, where do I go to find and hire black or brown people? Where do I go? What would you tell that founder that wants to make an effort to diversify the staff?
The industries are looking a little different. And also too, it depends on what part of the workforce. What are you looking for? If you are looking for fresh baby, go to the black colleges, go to the HBCUs. I mean, they're right there, boom. If you are looking for a more mature in age and life experience, and I do find value in all of the genres, I'm not the one that's going to tell you to get rid of all of your senior workforce. I'm like, before you do, y'all need to strengthen the succession plan, because that is what's missing, taking that top talent, that information and all of that from the top to the bottom. I mean, from the older to the younger. But if you're looking for a more mature workforce, I would say reach out to some of these Black civic organizations. So like, especially the ones, I mean, and that happens in other non-minority communities. Y'all got fraternity and sororities and stuff like that. Now, I'm not Greek, but I mean, it's just, think about where are the people that have gone through college, if that's a requirement, or have structure, organization, where are they? Well, they're in structures and organizations. So let me go, connect to sponsor one of their events or something.
Real quick, Zach, to follow up to that, if someone was to reach out to an organization or an HBC, would they be welcomed in making that connection and saying, "Hey, I want to explore that staff"?
Yeah, because that sounds like money. Like, come on, think
Right.
about it.
Well, and
And
I say this,
what
yeah,
do you
no,
want? The
right.
opportunities?
And I say that
Expansion?
because as a host of the show, I'm asking for if a viewer had that thought in their mind, not necessarily that I had that question, but it's one of those things that I would suspect that there would be someone listening, but like,
That's a
man,
good. That's a good
I
point.
don't know if I feel comfortable doing this. And you were talking earlier about do what you feel comfortable. Well, if that person doesn't feel comfortable going to the Black Chamber of Commerce, then they may not, because they may not feel as if they're welcome. So I
Yeah.
wanted you to be able to say that to those listening, saying, go out there, reach out to them, make those connections, and then that's be the change that we all want to see.
Yeah, thanks for checking me on that and driving me in the right direction. So yeah, absolutely. Now again, I would think about it. Why don't you right? Why don't you feel comfortable talking to Black people at the Black Chamber of Commerce? Just think of what we're thinking about. Ask yourself, why does that make you feel away? And if you say, well, I can't move past that mountain, then don't, because then hey, it is what it is. You be a great person in a different way. But if you I don't know who to talk to, or I don't know what to say, then Google how to build relationships with minority communities. I need to write that as an article. I'm gonna write that as an article. Thank you. Or just something like that, where you just the internet anyway, and ask a friend if you don't have anybody that's minority in your circle of friends. That's something that you could say too. Like, I got to be a little more aware of this. I think the biggest problem is when somebody says, I don't have any minorities as real relationships. I didn't really grow up with them. I don't really work with any of them, but I mean, I know it all. Why should this make somebody feel away? Like, whoa, you don't think that there is, maybe you're just missing a little bit of something. Maybe you don't know. And it's okay. You don't have anybody in your life to make but excuse me, moments like this is what helps, people grow. And I appreciate, this moment.
As someone who's been directly involved within the startup community for almost a decade, I want to talk to you about a serious pain point: spending a ton of time trying to understand the business landscape in the 757. That's time that should be focused on growing the business. At StartWheel, we're here to help you by compiling all of the news you need to know about in one place. Now there's no need to search multiple websites. Just head to startwheel.org and see for yourself. That's startwheel.org.